Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Badgers Burrow. We got another little bit of a different video today. I'm going to be ranking all 40 US Survivor seasons, and I'm going to be talking, spoiler free for about a minute or so, all of them. I'll highlight any athletes that are in it, if I can remember them all, and, just try to get you guys maybe a little bit interested. Maybe you want to watch a season of the show. Just try it out. If you guys do go on to enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to build this channel up. And also leave a comment down below your thoughts on my rankings. Obviously, they're completely subjective. I encourage you guys to rank them yourselves. We probably have different factors, and that's totally okay because I think they're all great in their own ways. Let's get into it. All right, we're going to be taking the seasons in chronological order, starting with Season 1, Survivor Borneo. I'm going to give this an A-tier season. Obviously, it's the first season. Everyone's kind of trying to figure out how the game works. Boundaries are starting to be drawn of what is conceived as right and what is conceived as wrong in the game. We have some very interesting strategies. One guy starts voting by the alphabet. And, it's really a great baseline season. Hey, this is what the game is in its purest form, and let's figure it out as we go. Australia, Season 2, I'm going to give a B tier. Closer to A, I'd say probably a B+. You have a lot of great characters on this season. You have an immense amount of people who are eventually brought back for All-Star seasons, most notably Colby, Jerry, Amber, Tina, just to name a few. This is a very good season. It has a lot of interesting dynamics. And, we see our first medical evacuation during this season, and I really like how it plays off of its location. Moving on to Survivor Africa. I'm going to give this one another B tier. Again, it's a pretty good season. I enjoyed watching it. It's obviously earlier in the, lifespan of Survivor, as we can say. It's obviously early in the lifespan. We see our first twist in the game. We see it's our first tribe swap ever. And, it adds another interesting dynamic, and we keep building layers onto this game, that we love. We add a couple more layers. We see some great good versus evil dynamics towards the backside of the game, and we have some all-time great moments. Moving on to Survivor Marquesas, I'm going to give this another B tier. Again, I really don't think that many Survivor seasons are bad, and it's going to take a lot for me to put them at the bottom tiers. Obviously, Australia and Survivor's discounted because I haven't watched any of it. But Survivor Marquesas was the last season I decided to watch. It's really not known. The winner is rather, I'm not actually going to say that because I don't want to spoil anything. We see a power shift for the first time ever, and I'm going to move Marquesas down to the C tier actually. Now that I think about it, there's not a whole lot that goes on. We have a couple interesting dynamics between characters, but nothing to write home about. Moving on to Thailand. This season is not great. We see social and strategic domination from our eventual winner. There's really not much to write home about. Only one player from this season is ever brought back. And, all in all, it's a pretty underwhelming season. If this is the first season you watch, I promise it will get better. There's not a whole lot. I mean, it's a pretty sensible boot order. There's not a lot of twists and turns. Survivor the Amazon. I'm gonna give this one a B tier. We are introduced to the tribe division of men versus women, and that adds an incredibly interesting dynamic to this season, and it really plays a lot into the pre-merge and even into the post-merge. We have one of the first true strategists come out in this season. Cole Hamels, MLB pitcher, his now wife is on Survivor the Amazon. And, it's a great season led by great characters. Moving on to a season led by great characters, Pearl Islands. This is an S tier for me. It has it all. It has fights. It has maybe the greatest lie in television history. I mean, it is a great season. It has great characters. It plays extremely well off of the pirate theme being in the location it is, and this is a great season. Pearl Islands is probably fourth or fifth in any season I would recommend to a new viewer. It's an old school season, but it does not disappoint. It is a great season. The final two are a little underwhelming, but one of them played an exceptional game. Moving on to Survivor All Stars. I'm going to give this an A tier, not an S tier. I mean, obviously you have some of the favorites from the first 7 seasons of the show, and it's all together. You finally have winners facing other winners, and you have story arcs from previous seasons coming back to this one. It's an incredible, it's a great season. We have our first Survivor love story. We have multiple quits, which are not great. But given the circumstances that they're all in this season, gotta let them slide. We see betrayals. I mean, this season's got it all. And especially if you're a fan of some of these players, you're gonna like this season. Survivor Vanuatu season 9. I'm gonna give this a C tier, and I liked this season. Once again, it tries to divide tribes by gender. It doesn't work as well as the first time, but I think it's still a pretty interesting dynamic. You have a pretty nice underdog story throughout the post-merge developing, and it's a solid Survivor season. Moving on to Palau. This is gonna be another C tier. The boot order is rather, I wouldn't say expected, given the circumstances that there are in this season. I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a Survivor first in this season, and it has happened once since, but not to the extent of this one. The boot order is rather predictable, not super. You have a very likable winner. It's a good season. Moving on to Survivor Guatemala. And I think I'm going to give this season a C tier as well. It's the first season to feature returnee players as well as newbie players. And this season is led by great characters. You have Judd, you have Steph, you have Bobby John, Danny. Former NFL quarterback Gary Hogaboom is on this season. He goes by the alias Gary Hawkins, but you'll have to watch a little bit further into this season to really get the backstory behind that. This season features the first ever immunity idol, and it's a solid season. Survivor Panama. This is going to be another C tier for me. I'm probably going to be stacking the C tier, but these range from C plus to C minus, so keep that in mind. Survivor Panama, I like this season. They actually start with 4 opening tribes based off of gender and age. It starts a pretty interesting dynamic that they haven't followed since. There's a lot of likable people on this cast. Former Nebraska quarterback Shane Powers is on this season and really takes the reins on this season in terms of personality. You have Survivor legend Sari on this season. This is her first season, and this is a pretty good season to watch. Cook Islands. Cook Islands is going to be A tier for me. I'm going to leave S tier for the upper echelon seasons. Pearl Islands might get moved down eventually, but Cook Islands is definitely going to be in the A tier. You have a great dynamic where tribes are divided by race, and that's really cool. You see your first real diverse cast. You have a Caucasian tribe, an African American tribe, an Asian tribe, and a Latinx tribe. It creates wonderful dynamics that play so well into the season. You have people you really want to root for going far in the season. You have legends like Ozzy and Parvati. This is their first season. Cook Islands is a masterpiece. Moving on to Survivor Fiji. This is one of the more underrated seasons, in my opinion. It's probably going to be a C plus for me. Once again, an incredibly diverse cast on Survivor Fiji. I'd say probably one of the best casting pools they've had in terms of diversity. Obviously, now that's going to change with the 50% BIPOC, standard. But Survivor Fiji is a very underrated season. You have an all-time great moment on this season. You have an extremely likable winner, and it's a great season. It checks all the boxes. The tribes are kind of haves versus have-nots. That's an interesting twist. I don't think it was that good, but Survivor Fiji is a good season. Survivor China, I think I'm going to give this a B tier, but this is going to be a B plus. A lot of people rank this season extremely high, and it's a good season. Survivor China has a bunch of great characters. You have Courtney, the Confessional Queen, James John Robert, former poker player, if you're into that stuff. Professional poker player, excuse me. Amanda, another Survivor legend. You have a former WWE wrestler, Ashley Massaro, rest in peace. But Survivor China is a great season. You have a very unexpected post-merge boot order, which is very interesting, makes for good TV. And you're not going to find better one-liners than Courtney Yates on Survivor China. Micronesia, easy S tier for me. This is a perfect blend of super smart and super stupid gameplay. The casting twist this season is it's fans versus favorites. So you have you have a cast of all-stars and a cast of fans, and that creates a great dynamic, especially for the post-swap and the post-merge. I don't want to get into any spoilers, but you have legends I've talked about earlier. If you remember their names, they're on this season. Survivor Micronesia is a masterpiece, and it is a must-watch in my opinion. Survivor Gabon is a D tier season. You have a pretty likable winner in my opinion in terms of their character, maybe not in their gameplay. Survivor Gabon's interesting. It's the first season that's in full HD for you guys that don't like grainy TV. That's fine. This is your first HD season. All the other ones obviously follow suit. Survivor Gabon's interesting. There are great characters. There are incredible villains on this season. You have one of the nastiest lines uttered at Final Tribal Council, and you honestly might want to watch this season just for that line. Survivor Tocantins, easy S tier for me. It has two of my top 5 probably favorite players of all time in Tyson and Coach. They have a great dynamic. You have an extremely likable winner. You got Eddie George, former running back. His wife is on this season, and Eddie eventually comes for probably a 5 to 10 minute scene late in the season. So stay tuned for that if you guys choose to watch Tocantins. I would highly, highly recommend this season for any newbies who want to get into anyone who wants to start watching Survivor. Tocantins is a great place to start. There's great social, strategic, and physical gameplay. There's great camp life, an extremely unpredictable boot order. Tocantins is a great season. Survivor Samoa, season 19. Gonna give it a B tier. You have great characters again, or you have one great character, and that is Russell Hantz. Russell Hantz, he makes this season. I don't want to give any spoilers, but Russell does stuff we've never seen before, and that keeps you captivated to watch this season. Obviously you have other players making good moves, but Russell's the center of attention for a portion of this season, and he tries stuff, like I said, that we've never seen before. He is the villain that you love to hate, but you also love him at the same time because he is so creative and upfront with the way he plays the game. It's a good season to watch. Survivor Heroes versus Villains, my favorite season ever. I don't think that's going to be topped. Survivor Heroes versus Villains, hands down the best season of Survivor I have ever watched. Please go watch it on Netflix. Not first, but it's on Netflix if you want to watch it. Survivor Heroes versus Villains is so good. I'm a villains guy, but hey, you love the heroes too. You have great players. Three of my favorite players of all time, including number 1 on this season. You have, once again, a perfect blend of super strategic and super stupid gameplay We have two of the most infamous moves of all time. It's a masterpiece. I love Survivor Heroes versus Villains. Survivor Nicaragua. This is going to go on the D tier. It's probably going to be closer to a D+, but there's not too much to write home about. Former NFL coaching legend Jimmy Johnson is on this season. I'm sure you've seen him on Fox. Country music star and former UNC Tar Heel football player, NASCAR driver Chase Rice, also on this season. If you care to watch either of those guys, Survivor Nicaragua might be the season for you. It wasn't for me. You have the old versus young tribe division. It doesn't work too great, but you have some good moments led by good characters in the post-merge. This is out of order here. So we're going to move on to Redemption Island. I'm going to give it a C tier. Most people put it near the bottom. It's a pretty predictable boot order. You have great characters who lead this season. One of them I love, which is why I'm not putting it at a D tier. You have former NFL players Steve Wright and Grant Matos on this cast. But unless you're a fan of the winner, who I'm not going to disclose, you're not going to like this season. South Pacific. C tier as well. Definitely higher than Redemption Island, but it's a good season. It features two returning players again, similar to Guatemala, with a cast of newbies. You have people you like to love. You have people you like to hate. We see one of the most infamous moves in Survivor history. Creates a great story arc for that player's following season. It's a good season to watch. Survivor South Pacific is good. Survivor One World is terrible. There's really about 2 or 3 people who know what they're doing. One of them is eventually the winner. You have an absolute brat turned bully into this season, which makes some of his comments are extremely hard to stomach, to put it nicely. So viewer discretion is advised for his words. But Survivor One World, it's not great. Survivor the Philippines. This is going to be an A tier for me. Philippines is great. You have 3 starting tribes. One medical evacuation leads each tribe, which I think is an awesome twist that they need to bring back. Having one player that was, forced out of competition, able to return. It's great. I love the pre- and post-merge dynamics of this season due to, maybe unforeseen circumstances. You have wonderful characters. Malcolm, fan favorite. Everyone loves Malcolm. And features MLB MVP Jeff Kent, maybe the greatest power-hitting second baseman of all time. MVP gives the best exit confessional you will ever see. The best one. So stay tuned for that. Survivor Caramoan. Fans versus Favorites 2. This is going to be a C tier for me. Once again, Fans versus Favorites twist. I don't think it hits as well as the first time. But the boot order is unpredictable, which makes this season good. The post-merge is spectacular, especially the first few episodes of that post-merge are spectacular. There's Big Move, Blindside. If you have Big Move-itis, you're gonna like Survivor Caramoan. Moving on to Blood versus Water. I'm gonna give this an A tier. Blood versus Water, the twist here is you have a slate of former players, winners and non-winners, featured with a loved one. It's an incredibly interesting dynamic. You have one tribe for each. You have the returning players and the new players. It's a great dynamic that I love. I think it works. You see a new way to play the game when you're with your loved one. Former Buccaneer Brad Culpepper is on this season. If you know who he is, Florida or Florida State, I'm not sure which one. Legend in that department. So if you like Culpepper, this is your season, and it's not Dante. Survivor Cagayan, 100%, second best season ever, best newbie season ever. Survivor Cagayan is perfect. It is perfect. There is such elite gameplay from some of these players, quite the opposite for some other players, but if you want to get into Survivor, it is imperative that you start with Cagayan. It's that good. It features former NBA star, the late Cliff Robinson, rest in peace, Cliff, and former Miami Marlins owner or GM, not sure which one, David Samson. This is an ideal season. If you want to watch Survivor, you have to start with this one. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. San Juan del Sur. It's going to be a C tier for me. Once again, it tries the blood versus water twist, this time with all new castaways, and it's good. I like the post-merge. You obviously have heroes and villains going against each other. So in that respect, it's good. Some of the gameplay is questionable. It features some Survivor legends, though, so you're going to like that. It features former MLB relief pitcher John Rocker. He has some extremely biased opinions on the world of politics, especially, but, he's an influential character in this season and a former athlete you might want to watch. Survivor Worlds Apart. This is going to be another C tier for me. Worlds Apart is basically based off of their job, blue collar versus white collar versus no collar. And it's a pretty interesting dynamic. Once again, you have some Survivor legends introduced in this season. Not a whole lot to write home about. It's good. It's not great. You have some good characters and some pretty good gameplay. You have one of the challenge beasts in this season as well. Survivor Cambodia. I think I'm going to give this one a B and an A+, probably. Survivor Cambodia is awesome. It's Survivor's second chance. So all of your favorites from the first 30 seasons that didn't win and never got to play again, guess what? They're back for Survivor's second chance. It is a wonderful season. Everyone is playing extremely hard, and I think that that's what makes this season so great, in my opinion. Everyone is playing the game super, super well. It's a master. It's a great season to watch. Ko Rong, B tier. I loved Ko Rong. You have two of the biggest villains ever, including former NBA player Scott Pollard. He kind of leads this villain role in this season. It's good. It's an unpredicted winner, which again I like. I believe this season does include the most medical evacuations ever. So, if you don't like injuries, this might not be the one for you. But I think Ko Rong works. I think it's a great season. Millennials versus Gen X. This is going to be a B tier for me. Casting division, pretty straightforward, and it is pretty much moving on throughout this list. Survivor MVGX is great. If you watch the challenge, Jay is featured on this season. And I forgot to mention Natalie Anderson, also from the challenge. She's on San Juan del Sur. But Millennials vs. Gen X is great. You have some firsts in this season as well, and some pretty compelling gameplay. Survivor Game Changers, A tier. I need to go back and watch this season. I haven't seen it in a little while, but Game Changers is awesome. Similar to Cambodia, you have a full cast of people who are ready to play the game hard. They might not all be game changers. They're definitely not all game changers. But it's a great cast. You love the winner. Brad Culpepper is on this season as well. So if you're a big Brad fan, maybe from Blood vs. Water, watch Game Changers. It's a good season, and there's a lot of good twists near the end. Definitely some memorable tribal councils, I will say. Survivor HHH, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. C tier, not too much to write home about with this season. Features former NFL defensive back Alan Ball, but it's a good, not great season. Similar to some other ones, if you have big move-itis, this is a good season. You have a lot of big moves down the post-merge. Survivor Ghost Island, this is a B tier. There's an incredible dynamic that forms throughout this season, kind of the alpha versus the alpha going head at it, but not quite like that. The twist this season is that it features relics from the past, and can you reverse the curse of former Survivor moves? it's a good season. I like the dynamic. The post merge is awesome. You got to watch it for that final tribal council. Survivor David versus Goliath. A tier. I'm hesitant. I want to put this one in the S. You know what? I'm going to put David versus Goliath. Am I? You know, if Pearl Island's in the S tier, David versus Goliath is in the S tier as well. David versus Goliath is awesome. Aside from Cagayan, it is the best casting for a new or for an all new player Survivor season. It's awesome. Survivor David versus Goliath just has people everywhere that you want to root for. And that's what I love in a season. It features former, I'm not sure what she does, boxing, I believe, but in the mixed martial arts world, Bea Win, and also former WWE wrestler, maybe not former, but WWE wrestler John Hennigan. Survivor Edge of Extinction, C tier. I love some of the cast. I hate the twist of Edge of Extinction. That's pretty much all I have to say there. Island of the Idols is the worst season in Survivor history. I probably will never be rewatching it. It's that bad. You know, you have a controversy, a very socio-cultural controversy that really takes over the entire season, and it makes it kind of unenjoyable to watch. The casting twist is not great, but the one controversy really takes over the season, and it's a shame because there's really good players riddled in with this cast, and it's a shame that it gets clouded by that. Winners at War. This is my third favorite season ever. I'm hesitant to put it at 2 because Cagayan is so good, but Winners at War, it is what it sounds like. You have a full cast of winners. It's awesome. You have big moves. You have the legends of the game playing against each other. I mean, it's awesome. Winners at War is so good. Definitely don't watch it first because you're going to have about 19 seasons spoiled for you. But it's a masterpiece. That's going to be it for this list, guys. If you want me to do a further breakdown, what are the 5 seasons I recommend you watch first, please let me know down in the comments section. Survivor is a show that I'm extremely passionate about and I love to talk about. But these are my rankings. Let me know what you guys think if you have watched some of these seasons down below. Again, this was an extremely abridged version. I tried to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, while also letting you know of some of the former athletes in these seasons. So please let me know if you want to see further descriptions of some of these seasons, because I will be more than happy to provide that. I know this was a long video. If you're still here, thank you so much. It does mean the world to me if you watch all these videos, the full length of them. It means a lot. I know this one, wasn't as interesting maybe as the other ones because I kind of ramble on about something you're probably not interested in. But, I'm trying something new here. I'm sorry it's a little long. I'll try to cut these down in the future. But I need to stop rambling, guys. It's already too long. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.